Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd, and you are here for the April 2018 Worldox virtual user group meeting, where today, it's going to be a quick one because there are two things that are relatively easy to cover quickly. Mary Jo is going to talk about the drop zone, and I am going to talk about the compare button in Worldox. And so, without any further ado, I'm going to press all the magic buttons that are necessary to press in order to get into Worldox so that Mary Jo can start talking about the drop zone.
Okay, so I actually don't really need to be in Worldox.
That's right.
Because the drop zone does not live out there. The drop zone actually lives up here. And look at, here it is. And it's actually not even called a drop zone. It's called a work zone.
No, it's a drop zone.
It is a work zone. So this little work zone right here, it opens up when you open Worldox. Now, some of you may not see that when you open Worldox, and it usually opens up. You saw it was like kind of up here and about the center of the screen at the top, and I think right now I've got it to always show on the top. I'm on Paul's login, so I don't know what his settings are for his, but you can drag this anywhere that you want to see it and move it over out of your way. So wherever you want that to be, it will stay there, and it will open there every time you open Worldox. If you're not seeing this work zone, what you need to do is over here in your taskbar, you need to get to your Worldox icon. Sometimes that Worldox icon is hiding underneath this little arrow, and it might be in here. In ours, it's actually out here. It's pinned. So if I right-click on that Worldox, there is a Disable Work Zone. And if it's disabled when you log into Worldox, or Worldox opens when you automatically when you log in, you don't see that work zone. You can come over here and enable the work zone. So now it's going to be enabled, and there it is. And you see it stayed right where I put it the last time. So that will stay there until you move it again. So what is the work zone? If you do have it open, some people think that the work zone is, oh, I just double click on the work zone and that opens Worldox. Well, that's true. It does do that. If I just double click on that work zone, it opens Worldox for me. But it can do a lot of other things as well. So let's say that I have some documents on my desktop, or I have some documents that I got on a CD or a flash drive or something like that, and I want to move them into Worldox all at once. You can grab a document, and I'm just going to grab this one right here, and I'm going to pull it over and drag it on top of the work zone until I see that little plus sign. Then I'm going to let it go, and it opens up Worldox so that I can profile that document. Now, I'm not moving the document into Worldox at that point. I'm copying it. I still will have the copy out on my desktop, but I will be able to copy it and profile it directly into Worldox. At this point, I can give it a description, choose the cabinet and all of the information, and say OK. That puts it right into Worldox for me. If I had multiple documents that I wanted to do, maybe I have these three, same thing. I can bring multiples over, and it's going to go ahead and let me profile all three of those documents to Worldox. So that's how you can drag and drop documents right here. If I were in an email and there was an attachment in the email, and I want to drag that attachment out of the email into Worldox, I could grab that attachment right from within the email and drag it over to the work zone, and it would go ahead. Did you do that, Paul?
I did that.
Okay, I was like, what are you doing? What happened? I don't know if you've got something that has an attachment.
Stop moving your mouse, I'll get you there.
Not touching it. Let's find something that has any kind of an attachment.
Well, this has got John Rocks. Well, that's not really an attachment like that. Hold on.
Do Amanda's right here. I have one.
Okay. Well, here's USPS.
Okay. So here's a document right here. So I can take that, and I can see how when I grabbed it, my work zone popped up on top of there, and I can take that attachment out of the email and drag it into the work zone and profile that attachment separately. Now, you want to be careful about doing emails. Now, I could technically grab these emails and drag them into the work zone. But what happens when I do that is I lose the date that it was actually sent to me, and it puts everything as of today. It's the date I'm profiling it. So I would caution you, yes, you can do emails, and I could grab these and profile them over, but I would just go up here, and at that point I would have pinned my Move to Worldox or Copy to Worldox buttons on my quick access bar, and I would just go ahead and select and do it that way so I maintain my receive date correctly. So just be careful with that. But attachments within emails, this is a great way to just drag them up into Worldox and quickly put them in there. So let me close this. Now, sometimes you might get a limitation warning. So if I grab 20 documents and I went to drag them into the work zone, it may pop back up and tell me that I've selected too many files to put into the work zone. And I'm going to guess here, I'm trying to remember what the default is, but I think it is 10.
I think you're right.
So 10 documents going into the work zone at once. If you need to increase that, we can do that. We can increase that to whatever number you think is feasible. I would be, careful. I wouldn't go up and say, oh yeah, do 15,000 documents at once. But you might want 500 or 200 or 100, something that makes sense that you can go ahead and drag as many as you need to into the work zone. Those limits can be increased. It is in a special file that we can change that setting, and we can do that. If you right-click on the work zone, there are also some things that you can do with the appearance of that. You can make it small, medium, or large. I'm going to make it large just to make it a little bigger. If you right-click on the appearance, you can also change the color, and you can make it something fun and pretty. I'm going to make Paul's pink, and it will say OK. And now my little work zone is pink. Thank you,
Mary Jo.
You're welcome, Paul. And then when we get back here, you can also have the always on top. So if you don't want this to always be on top, you can deselect that checkbox, that check mark there.
As you notice, when Mary Jo grabbed that file, it did pop right up to the surface. So some people don't want it always on top because of that.
So if you don't want it on top, now I've just right-clicked, and now it's not always on top. So what that did, I did not have it on before, and so it didn't open up and show it to me until I grabbed a file and wanted to find it. If I do have it always on top, and so now if I right-click, that's checked. If I go into an email, or let's go into just the deleted items, you see how it's still up here? It's always there. I didn't have to drag a file to get it to open. But if I don't want that, I want it to just kind of hide behind there until I need it, I would uncheck that box, and now it's gone. But if I grab a document and I go to drag it anywhere, it opens up for me there. So you have some choices there, and that's an individual setting for you, user by user. So if you want the work zone on or off, you don't even have to have it on. Or if you want the work zone to be a different color, you want it to be a different size, you want it always on top, those are all specific to you as a user.
And the color, for instance, is also specific to user?
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to change the color of yours, I would have to log in as you?
That's correct.
I'm asking for a friend.
Yes.
Okay, good.
That would be true. But I did change you back to white. I don't know what color it was before. I honestly don't know. I kind of messed that up for you, Paul.
Yeah,
but,
that's all right.
So that's the work zone. I think it can help you if you've got several documents to move, or they're on your desktop, you just want to get them into Worldox quickly. Lots of different things that you could do for that.
And one other feature that she kind of hinted at but didn't really specifically mention, you can double click on the work zone and it will load Worldox, which I will do now to show you that there is this compare files button that can be put in your toolbar, because that's what I'm talking about. And we all probably know that if you go into Word, for instance, and tell it you want to compare documents. Sorry, I got to search, and I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Computers are kind of new to me. I haven't worked with them very long. We can tell Word, hey, I want to review and go to the compare, and I want to compare some documents. And it will pop Worldox. When I tell it I want to browse for this file, it will find it through Worldox, okay? So that's all well and good. A comparison in Word works with Worldox, and it also, Worldox does very well with compare docs from DocsCorp. Thank you, Mary Jo. And there are a couple others that it works, plays very nicely with. And so when you go into those programs, it knows what to do with Worldox, and it knows how Worldox fits into the scheme of being able to select those files. But if you just went one step further and got this button to show, I would be able to take two Word documents, for instance. Let's see if I got any Word documents. And not two of the docx, yeah. I knew that was going to happen. I could take this one, and I could take this one, and I could mark them, and I could simply hit this button. Now, a couple things need to be done. For instance, if you're using Compare Docs, it should already have this set. But as you can see, even if we still have to set this up, and I'll talk about that in a second, what it's done here is it's taken the two documents and assumed that one is going to be the original and one is going to be the modified. And I don't have to browse for original. I can just select them and hit the button, and that is a whole much better. That is a much better workflow than having to go into Word or Compare Docs or any of the other comparison programs that will work with Worldox and go through that more cumbersome process of going into the software, opening the comparison module, getting to the point where you have to select documents, and then having Worldox take you there. It's very likely that you are either in a version list or in a client's matter in Worldox, and the two documents you want to compare are right there on the screen. And so being able to simply click this and hit the Compare Files button is much easier. How do you make this work? Well, the big thing is, if you right-click, and I'm actually going to take this off of here, so let's remove the button. So you don't have this button. How do you get it? The button is kind of the key. Now, I have to know, and Mary Jo, right. Versions, thank you. That we had to find this the other day. File, then versions. Okay, and then compare. So, first off, you don't have to have the button. You can just highlight your two files or mark your two files, go to File, Version, Compare, and the same thing will happen, okay? B, buttons are much better. So you right-click in some blank space, and as long as you know where to go find it out here, like File, Version, Compare, that's why I was getting Mary Jo to help me, because I didn't see it immediately. As long as you know where to go to get it, you can also just append a button by going to File and Version and Compare. Remember, I started by right-clicking right here in some blank space and said Append Button, and then I basically followed the path I would take, File, Version, Compare, and bam, I've added it. Now, I'm not going to get into the weeds as to how to configure this, because this is usually something that you would have your Worldox consultant configure for you. I'm not going to get into all the intricacies of configuring this, but the only other thing you need to do is go to Properties, add one, and then set it up to know where the comparison should take place. Again, I'm not going to get into all the nerdiness of what you do here. If you've got Compare Docs, it's already here. You don't even need to do this. When you go into Compare Docs is going to be one of the options. If you use Word to compare, we can help you, or anybody else from Worldox can help you get a comparison set up that will use Word. But the bottom line is, get the button there, get it set up to use whatever you want. And again, as I said, if you're using Compare Docs, then just installing it will get that set up. And use the button, because the button and the two marked files, whether they're versions of the same file or they're two totally different files as far as how they're listed in Worldox, very cool. Very, very enhanced workflow in being able to just mark those and hit the Compare button. One plug for Compare Docs, as you know, Word will compare two Word documents, and it does a very good job of it. Compare does a very good job of comparing two Word documents as well, but one neat thing that a lot of people tend to gravitate to Compare Docs for is it will also compare a Word document to a PDF, something that you cannot do directly in Word and that you can do in Compare Docs. And that's that. Next month, we are going to talk about archiving. Mary Jo is going to take that topic, what to do when you want to get those documents out of your main Worldox document store, but into some place where they're still searchable, but maybe on a cheaper disk, maybe one that's not being backed up every 10 minutes, maybe one that's going to be a little bit less expensive to maintain, and also out of there. I'm going to talk about discovery documents. what to do when you get CDs with hundreds or thousands of documents in from the other side or from co-counsel, and you need to get them into your Worldox. What are the best practices for that? That's going to be my topic. Of course, we aren't going to let you go until we take you to attorneycomputersystems.com. Notice how I emphasize that last S in the word systems. It's important. Without it, you will not get there. And if you go there and hover over or click on the word videos in the navigation menu at the top, you will be taken to a list of all of our videos and grouped by title. 4 of them are live events, 2 of them are pre-recorded, but this is how you get to all of our video content. You are currently, for instance, in a live event, the Worldox Virtual User Group meeting. We also have a Tabs 3 and a Practice Master Virtual User Group meeting, and we have another live event that we call the Coffee Pot Webinar, where I take somebody from a company that has a product that adds value or enhances the value of Worldox or Tabs 3 or Practice Master, our 3 core products, and have them in to explain what their product does and how it works. Of course, you know what the virtual user group meetings are because you're in one. We also have the 2 pre-recorded series. Mary Jo has her eBytes video series where she takes really cool things that we think everybody should know, but we think maybe they don't, that can be explained in 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, and we put out an eByte on them. For longer format topics, things that take a little longer to explain, we have the Paul and Mary Jo show, where either I or Mary Jo do the same thing, but we do it in, well, let's say 10 or 15 or 20 minutes for a topic that, of course, has a need for more detailed explanation. Mary Jo records 3 eBytes every month, 1 on Tabs, 1 on Practice Master, 1 on Worldox. We record 1 Paul and Mary Jo show every month, and we filter through the different products so that we try and get some equality there in what's being covered. If you click on one of these, like let's take the Worldox Virtual User Group meeting, since that's where you are right now, you will be taken to something that describes that video title. If it's a live event, gives information on the next one. What is it we're going to be talking about? When is it? And 2 links to register. They're really both the same link, but some people like to see what they're clicking on before they click, and so we have that one as well. As you scroll down, if it's a live event, you will see pre-recorded version or recorded versions of the past events. This is the one that you're currently in, so it's currently in post-production, at least if you're listening to this live, meaning that it won't be ready and to be put on the website for about a week. That's when it's going to show up. But as you scroll down further, you'll find the recorded versions of everything else. We have somewhere between 600 and 800 videos on the site. We haven't actually counted them all. We do put out 10 a month. So we're putting a lot of video content out there, and it's growing every month. If you are looking for something specific, like let's say emailing statements from Tabs, you just type a word here and either go directly to the short list, or you view all results or hit enter and get to the long list, and you can zero in on a topic, or you can just browse around. We have a lot of people that come here and just kind of look around and see what's there. Whatever your method, please take advantage of them. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and they are there for you to use. They're free. They're always there, and we have a lot of people that take advantage of them, but we want to make sure even more know that they're available. Everybody have a good rest of the day and a good rest of the month, and we will see you in May. Thanks, everybody.